Yeah, g'day YouTubers. Tinker O'Toole again here with another video. Today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different about chainsaws, something that's a little bit interesting. We'll just move back so you can see the three saws there. I want to talk about the bar that you get on your chainsaw. Now, the first chainsaw is the MS500i. Someone said to me, oh, that saw, I've seen it in lots of videos, but doesn't look like it's being used. Well, it only got used once to chop up a few logs just to see how good it worked. And our wood cutting season is over until about September. So being April now, we've got quite a few months to go, so do a lot of maintenance, a lot of things in non-cutting season. What I wanted to talk about was the chainsaw, the 500i. As you can see, it's got the Stihl Light 06 bar on it. It's a 25-inch bar. And look at the spikes, the bumper spikes that it comes with. They are huge. I never asked for them. They come on the saw like that. I don't know if they come in every country like that, but they are big bloody spikes. But that's okay, because I'll show you the timber that I use anyway. But in a lot of cases with smooth timber, you don't need spikes like that. One of the other problems that when you've got spikes like that, it robs the length of your bar. These spikes rob a lot of length of your bar. So if you don't need spikes that big, get rid of them and put smaller ones on. And the saw behind us is the MS311, and you can have a look at those bumper spikes, and they're less than half the size. So yeah, you don't really need big spikes unless you've got deep furrowed timber, and I'll show you some deep furrowed timber. But interesting enough, when you look at this first saw and you say it's a 25-inch bar, oh yeah, okay. How much of that bar can you use? 25 inches? 24 inches? Oh, well, yeah, I must be able to use 23 inches. 22 inches. 21 inches. Barely use 21 inches. That's how bad it is. So if I was to measure from the bumper spike, and I look at the flat section from there to about there, that's about my usable. I've got 21 inches to that point there. So, you know, if you look at the tip, I'm not doing a plunge cut. Most of the time I'll be using this section here. So this 25-inch bar has got a good usable flat section of 21 inches, which is not a lot. So therefore, with these type of spikes on there, you use quite a lot of the bar. So if we were to measure the 25 inches, if you say, well, okay, if it's a 25-inch bar, where's the 25 inches? There's a 25 inches there. Now, right, if you measure there, you couldn't even, if we go to the front of the chainsaw, your 25 inches or your bar to me, we'll turn the saw around the other way so that you can see it better. Okay. Now, this is the case of the saw. That's the closest that you could put the case to the log. And if you actually look at it, if you were to put the saw, we've got 24 inches. So that's the maximum that you could possibly have. And if you're to look at the spike at the bottom, the spike sticks out over 2 inches, about, what is it? Yeah, just over 2 inches, 2¼ inches. So you can see that you don't really need a spike that big unless you've got the right wood. So using a saw, a 25-inch bar on a saw like this, the MS500, with these huge spikes, you've only got a real cutting capacity of about 21 inches, which is actually perfect for me because I don't usually cut anything that big. So that's that particular saw. So we'll just put that away down the back. And this may help you decide what bar you want for your saw. Now, if we look at this saw, which is an MS311, and it's got a 20-inch bar, it's the same thing. If we measure from that point there, we've got our 20 inches. But our spikes and the body protrude up to here. There's the spikes there. So from this point here, you've got 17 inches to there. So from there to there, which is not a lot, you've got 17 inches. That's it. You've lost 3 inches off there. So on the other saw, we've lost at least 4 inches. We're losing 3 inches off this one. Now the next saw, and if you actually look at the bumper spikes, they're very, very small. These bumper spikes are perfect for smooth timber. They're not very good for deep furrowed timber, and you'll even see that, oh, excuse me, you'll see that there's scratches on the plastic body there because of where it's been touching timber. So the spikes can help protect the case of your saw as well. Now, the other saw we got is the MS180C. It's got a 16-inch bar on it. Not a steel bar, it's a Hurricane. Reason being, the original bar that comes with here is 043 gauge. I don't like 043 gauge. I brought 100 meters of 050 gauge, so I like to run 050 gauge and full chisel on all my chain saws. So if we're to look here and we look at the bumper spikes and we look at the flat section, you're only going to get a foot, or look, maximum, look, whoa, 13 inches is to there, to the right there. There's 13 inches. That's all you're going to get on that saw, 13 inches. So if you were to put a 14-inch bar on it, you're not going to be able to chop much. So it's interesting how the bars are all different lengths, and the bumper spikes really make a big difference to the length. So you never actually ever get that usable bar length. The only other thing you could say about the tip doesn't really do much cutting unless you're doing a plunge cut. So generally speaking, I like to have about 1 inch or 2 of that nose hanging over the edge of the log that I'm cutting. I don't like to have the nose buried into the saw. Now what I'm going to show you next is, we'll just make a little bit of room here, is timber that has huge bark on it. This is what you call very deep furrowed bark, iron bark, red iron bark. And if you actually have a look, they're very deep furrowed, even a couple of inches. So this is when you really do need the big spikes. Whereas if I'll just grab a small bit of timber that, hang on. See, when you look at this type of timber, which is smooth bark, you only need very, very small spikes, very small. Yeah, 1/2 inch. Don't need much bigger than a 1/2 inch spike. But a 1/2 inch spike on here does absolutely nothing. When you consider, if we were to measure, we'll come around here. If you look how deep this is, 3 inches. See whether you can see that. Yep, so there it is there. Oh, too much. As you can see, it's very deep furrowed. This is the best burning timber. This is the timber when I go out collecting wood, this is my premium choice. So that's probably it in a bit of a nutshell. That next time that you're going to buy a bar, or if you're thinking of when I brought this 500i, there was a special on it, which was $400 off the recommended retail, which is absolute bargain. So here in Australia, they've got a special on that at the moment. They're normally $2,400 and around $2,400, and they've knocked $450 on it, and they're $1,199 with a 20-inch bar. Pay an extra $20, you get a 25-inch bar, and it has the light bar on it as well. So that's an absolute bargain compared to, say, the MS660 or the 661. So to get, you know, that amount of discount off a saw, that is a huge discount. So that's the reason I brought it. I was in the market for another saw, and I saw that and I thought, oh my God, $450 off. If I don't get it now, I'll kick myself later on. So that's why I decided for an extra $20, I could get a 25-inch bar. Now I'm going to get a lightweight bar, even though they say this is a lightweight bar. I'm even going to get a lighter bar than this. And on my 20-inch saws from now on, even this saw here, I don't think I'll ever get a 25-inch bar for that. Surprisingly enough, they done a test. People are putting 36-inch bars on the 500i. It doesn't have a lot of torque when you put a 36-inch bar on. I can tell you, it can bog down quite easily. So a 30-inch bar would probably be the biggest that I would personally probably put on this type of saw, and that would depend on what type of wood that you're cutting. If you found that you put a 30-inch bar on it and it was still bogging down a little bit, I would put a skip chain on it. That will reduce the length of the teeth by about 30%. So you could possibly get away even with a 36-inch bar with a skip chain. I did see some YouTube videos where they put it up against the MS661. The MS661 just won. So the MS661 will beat this saw, but not by a huge amount. But nonetheless, this is an 80cc saw, the MS500i, and the 661 is a 90cc saw. So, yeah, you're comparing, what, 15%, even though this is fuel injected, sometimes you just can't beat CCs. It's just the way it is. This is a fantastic saw. I'm really happy with it. I've had limited use with it, but I've used my friends, so that's why I knew that I wanted to get a 500i, because I used his, so I knew what I was buying. And this used to be my wood saw. It still will be. In most situations, I'll probably still be using this. It's just if I get the bigger logs, I'll be using this saw. Anyway, just be careful next time that you go to buy a bar. Just bear in mind, especially on the larger saws, not so much the smaller saws, that you're going to get much, much longer dogs. So just make sure that when you buy the saw off the dealer, check what sort of dogs it's got on it. If you've got smooth timber like the eucalypt, this one here, this is smooth bark. You don't need big, massive dogs like that. It's only on this type of timber that's really deep furrowed. Deep furrowed timber like that, you need the dogs. Yeah, you really do. So if you're ever wondering why people use bumper spike or dogs that are very big, you'll find out that especially here in Australia with that deep furrowed bark, they are benefit, but you lose your bar space by doing so. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye for now.